It's a good day. Gratitude leads to abundance. So thank you for liking and subscribing. I wanted to talk a little bit about the 5 best buying experiences that I've had in buying some of these cars. But first and foremost, we need to talk about the stuff that should have stayed on the sheets, and that is the BMW M4. Awful car, awful experience in buying, owning, and operating that vehicle, and the Mercedes CLA 45 AMG. I don't know why that car exists. We'll get those out of the way. So we'll start with number 5. Number 5 is the 992 GT3. What made that buying experience special was I was able to get the car at MSRP. That's an added bonus in a time when they weren't selling at MSRP, they were selling over. And I got to spec it. I got to go over, and I get my cars in black. I love black cars, at least in Porsches. I like black cars. And to be able to check all the boxes and be able to build that thing exactly how I want. Number 4, again, from Mark with Porsche Asheville. It was my first 911 Carrera S. Up until that point, I had essentially been driving a Chevy Express cargo van as a daily driver. And to be able to buy that car while on vacation with my wife, and to be able to use that car on vacation, take it out and drive through the mountains and see the leaves change, it was an amazing, amazing experience. Number 3, this was a hard one for me. It was between the Senna and the GT4 RS. And today I'm going to select the McLaren Senna. That was an amazing buying experience. I bought that car through McLaren Houston, and my guy Sean, they gave us $10,000, my wife and I, $10,000 not each, but $10,000 collectively to be able to go over to Surrey and go to the MTC, the McLaren Technology Center, and be able to spec that car, to go into the factory. We weren't able to go into the factory. You can look through the factory windows. You're not allowed to take any sort of video, so I don't have any sort of B-roll from that. But we were able to go select the car. The cool thing about that is there's like this secret room. Essentially, you go down a hallway, it looks like just walls, and they say, watch this, and the door slides open, you go in, and they have all of the things that you would want with the different specs and the different color combinations, the different materials, all laid out there so you can touch, feel. And then they also have a car sitting there on a turnstile turning so that you can walk up and say, okay, what do you want this specific thing to be? And to be able to go up and do that. To be able to spec that car to the detail that I wanted was a once in a lifetime experience. For me, I don't know if I ever need a car that's over $1 million ever again. There's just something terrifying about driving that car on the streets. That car looks like a Batmobile, so it's terrifying to drive on the streets because you'll end up with people sitting in your blind spots essentially filming the car, which is a cool thing. And then to be able to have Doug DeMuro come out and review the car, just owning and the experience of that car was fantastic. Number 2, the GT4 RS. The GT4 RS was and is still my favorite sounding vehicle I have ever owned. It is incredibly raw feeling when you draw it, the naturally aspirated engine.
Did you hear that? That was the first time getting to 9,000.
Getting up to 9,000. I was able to take European delivery of that, so we flew over and went to Leipzig, did the whole Germany tour. My wife and I again, and my buddy Barry and Mariella, were able to go over there and have an experience unlike anything else. And to be able to put that car on track, and then the reveal of the GT4 RS after months and months and months of waiting and anticipation was why it makes number 2 on the list. Number 1 on the list might be a little bit of a surprise. It was the McLaren GT4 race car, the 570S GT4. For that, McLaren Houston, again, my guy Sean, took me up to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We were invited up there. McLaren was hosting an event. There was a lot of big names up there. I just walked down the paddock. There was the guy that started Oculus. He was there with a bunch of cars. There was Ken Griffin. I looked him up. He was at the time worth $13 billion, and he had a Senna GTR and a P1 GTR, and he was just tracking the living daylights out of these things. There was Lolo Jones. She was there driving a GT4 race car, and to be able to go and put that car on track and to be able to have that experience. There's something about buying a car with a bunch of motorsport guys and gals that really love and appreciate the cars and what they can do. And one story about that is that's applicable today is I was in the changing room. They kind of convert the paddocks to these changing rooms. So they have lockers, and they have the fire suits, suppression suits, and they have all the different things, and you're signing the waivers. Well, it just so happened that I was in the locker room with one other gentleman, and he was in there, and we started kind of chatting a little bit. And at one point, like, he takes his shirt off, and I'm like, damn, you're a really good looking guy. Not in a gay way. I kept my socks on, everything, so it was all clean. He seemed to be fine with that. He laughed and said, oh, thanks, man. And anyway, as I got to know him, I asked him what he does, and he says, oh, I'm an actor. And I said, oh, what? Any movies that I would know? And he says, oh, I'm in the new Top Gun coming out. So the Top Gun had not been released at the time, but it was Glenn Powell from Top Gun. I recently just saw him in the movie Anybody But You, and I still stand by that. He's a very good looking man, and I definitely have my socks on, so we're good there. And that's the thing about these cars. A lot of people, I don't think, track these cars. How I think of that is if you went and bought a really nice boat, go and buy a $250,000 Super Aeronautique and put it up to a trailer, you have a great truck, and you drive it around and you fill it up at the gas station, and people walk up, oh, what an amazing boat. What an amazing boat. And you're like, oh, yeah, it's an amazing boat. Well, it turns out it's an amazing boat once you put it in the water. And there's a lot to that with these cars, these supercars, these hypercars, the sports cars. Once you put that thing on the track, it's like putting the boat in the water. You realize the purpose of its existence and why it's here and why people love it so much. But if you don't have that experience, you're only getting 6/10 of what this car is. You're getting a lot of people at gas stations telling you how cool it is, but that's about it. Those are my top 5 buying experiences, and that is part of it. Like that is the joy of buying these cars, is the buying experience, is the taking the delivery, of the speccing, of the anticipation. And that's why I love buying cars. That sounds bad, but that's why I love buying cars. And it's the community around these cars. It's the community and the people around the cars, and getting to know others who share that same love and that same passion. So those are my top 5. Till next time, thank you. Cheers.